inside Discord, sometimes you have to do the settings and upgrade. So right now I see that your microphone isn't muted on my side. So down below, anytime you're in a voice channel, you see the little voice details, just like how you share your screen. To the right of that, there's going to be a microphone, a headset, and then a settings. Click on the settings, and you want to scroll down to voice and video, which is halfway down the page. And inside there, voice and video, you'll have the ability.
On the same page, coach. Or
Yeah. So go to your, okay, so just like you did when you share your screen, right? Down below it says video connected, right? You see where you can share your screen?
yes.
Below that's your name. And then to the right of that is a microphone, a headset, and then a settings, user settings box, like a little cog. So when you
Right.
click,
Like next to the options
yeah,
on the blue screen, put options. Right. Click that.
yeah, it should say user settings.
Just voice and video
So
settings.
microphone, headset, user settings.
Okay. It's
Do you see the mic down below? You see your name, and to the right of your name, there's a microphone.
yes. There's a options. Uh, show camera mute deafen. But that's on the Discord. I'm looking over here on this page right here where I'm at. I see the microphone. I see the microphone. Oh, mute. It says mute, and then there's a drop down for input device, input volume, output volume, a deaf and push to talk voice settings.
Yeah. So, okay, so you went into settings, so you're in voice and video already.
Yes,
So
sir.
the input device, you see that box?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's basically that's your input, right? So it's like your default microphone. That
Okay.
might need to be on, or if you add a microphone, you'll need to change it to that, and it'll say like headphones, um, etc. Right? And then you can go to where it's like mic test. You see where it says mic test?
No. Push microphone array.
So here I'm going to share
Microphone.
my screen.
Do you see my screen? I'm not sharing it with you.
No, you're not sharing it. But you see how my thing became live now.
I'm
See
not
next
sharing
to
with you.
my inside the live trade, you see to the right it says live.
I can see my screen and your screen.
Yeah, but when you see the we're in a section called live trade. This is a voice section, right? You see my name, VC admin, you see your name, right?
I see my name, your name, right?
Right. So above on my name, to the right of my name, there should be a red box that says live.
Red box. No. What it says watch stream. I see
Yeah. Watch. Go
VCS.
ahead. Watch stream. Go ahead.
Right. Watch
Watch stream.
stream, and then the gold coin is there. Then I'm down at the bottom of the watch stream, and then Wordle. They have some games and stuff over here. If you're not sure what this page is. Okay. We'll click that out of there. Okay. All right. More options.
So you should
I guess
watch
I click
stream,
on.
and then you should see the Discord. You should see my Discord, like my screen, looking at the Discord, and I'm scrolling
Right.
up and down.
I see your screen looking at the Discord right now.
Right. You see me scrolling up and down?
Watch stream.
As I'm going, like I'm just moving the folder.
Yeah. You're just moving it. You're
Okay,
going up
now
and down.
down below, you see where I'm in the section that says it has my name on it, and there's a microphone. It says to unmute.
Live trade. Oh, right there. Right. Unmute right there. Right. Right.
Yeah. Next to it
mm-hmm.
is a headset. You see that? See the headset?
Hits. Yes.
Next
Click
to it
headset.
is user settings.
Okay. Oh, okay. User settings right now, coach.
Yeah. Scroll down, halfway down, there's a part that says voice and video.
Okay. I'm at it.
Okay. So in here, up here, you can see voice and video. You click on voice, and you have input device, right? Should be on default, unless you have an external microphone or something plugged in. And then
So
output, should have the same thing: default headsets, etc. And
I
then
have default array, Realtek, and default speaker, Realtek.
yeah, then you should have a mic check, a mic test. So you click that button, do the
Do
mic
the mic
test,
test,
and you should
and you
hear
should hear
yourself.
yourself.
So let's check. Okay. Let's check. Let's check. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So then input is voice activity. That should be hit, and then you um, should be good on that.
We're gonna leave it on switch to talk.
Now the problem, yeah, you can switch it to voice activity instead of push to talk.
Okay, voice activity. Okay.
Now the problem here is that your PC probably has a microphone somewhere. Ah, okay, there you go. So now I can see your mic. All right, so let me turn this up real quick. All right, so now I'm gonna mute you on the phone real quick. All right, so go ahead and talk and see if I can hear you in the Discord.
Hey, coach, what's going on, coach?
Yeah, so right now,
Trying to get this right.
yeah, so right now I'm not. I mean, you're not muted.
Okay.
Open voice. So you're not muted here. But for some reason, like let me double check. Volume's up. Everything's good here. More options. Yeah. So you're not muted or anything right there. So that's something you have to take your time, and like all that's going to happen is when you're talking in the Discord, is your microphone down below? Is it unmuted or muted?
Oh, go back to the Discord. Okay.
No. Yeah. You go to your Discord. Look down, but look to your controls in the bottom left, where the box where we can share screen, etc., etc. See if your microphone's red or white.
It's red. I muted it.
Oh, okay. So unmute it. Now
Okay,
talk.
how about now?
Let me see if I can hear you in the Discord. Go ahead, talk.
How about now, coach?
Yeah, so I'm still not hearing you. So that's something you have to look at and get in there. And the difference is, so you see how when I unmute my mic, you can see the green ring around it?
Yes.
That's what you want to see around your name. So that way you know your mic's working.
Okay, so it's saying push to mute or unmute or something like that. Or I don't know.
Yeah, for some reason it's not picking up your microphone. So what you have to do is go to settings, pull up your microphone, right? So that's in your computer settings.
Okay.
So normally that is you just go to your computer settings, go into settings, look for your microphone access, right? And then in the system, you'll go to your microphone and give Discord access to your microphone.
Okay.
So you can do that later. Okay, so I'm just going to keep you on the phone right now, walk through the basics here. So I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay, cool.
And let's see. I'm just going to go to a window. I'm going to click this one. I'm going to share that one. Okay, so that we're not teleporting. Okay, so all right, so getting set up here. So the first thing here is this is how to do the basic setup real quick. And for you went into your BitNex, you signed up for a bitnexcashback.com. You signed up, and then you went into and I'm just making a video on this, so we'll post it on YouTube so people can see how this goes. So we go over here, and to just verify that you're all set up correctly, we find the BitNex reward section. Let me find it here. Okay. And then BitNex user ID number and TV username. And what that simply is, BitNex user ID number, and your TV is your TradingView username, which we can see here. Yesterday you posted your BitNex user ID, and you posted your TradingView name. So then what we did there was activate and gave you access to the indicators for the making trading easy indicators. So now you have that in your invite only, which yesterday you were able to turn those on and set them up. So now you can see my screen, correct?
Right, I see it.
Okay, so you're all there, you're all set up. And then we can also take your user ID number and verify that you're getting everything you are. And then you went into the user guide and went into your partner at bitnex.com login. You logged in and you've seen that now all the trades that you're making will get 15% cash back.
Right.
And then
Coach, I tried to go in there before. I called you for class today. In the trading view, and I didn't see anything in there. It was all like on what happened.
Are you talking about TradingView, or are you talking about your BitNex partner program?
Sir, say it again.
Are you talking about TradingView, the indicators, or are you talking about BitNex?
No, TradingView.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So right here today, what we're going to focus on is just walking through the TradingView. Okay, so now you should be able to go to TradingView. You should be able to click on indicators, go down to your invite only.
Okay.
And the invite only should have your VC MTE indicators, right? You see them?
Let me go with it now.
Then
go to invite.
and you can share your screen too, so that way I can jump back and forth and.
All right, let me do that, Coach. Can you see my screen now?
Do you have to hit share on there, and then as soon as it pops up, I can pop in there?
Okay, I'm gonna do an entire screen. Let me know you see.
Yeah, so hit share and then go to window, and then pick the window that you want to share.
Okay, entire screen.
Oh yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, and then you can hit that share. So I don't see that you're sharing quite yet. So when you go to share, there should be a live next to your name. There should be like a red box that pops up.
Right, I did entire screen like I did yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have to hit the bottom right. It says share.
Share.
There you go.
Okay. My apologies, Coach.
No, you're good, man. You're learning. All right, so now I can open up the stream here. All right, so now take me to your trading view.
Okay, I'm on trading view right now. I need to share this entire screen. Go back over here.
Change stream. So click that again. Change stream. One, two up. Yeah. Now click that. And then you're going to find your trading view.
Okay. Can you see me now, Coach?
Yeah. Now go to your trading view. Mm-hmm.
You see it?
Yeah. Okay, so now, so you have your indicators. I see them on the screen.
See them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one right here, right?
Yeah, that's the price action tracker 2, correct?
Right. Okay.
Now you signed up for the basic, the cheapest trading view, right? For like $13 or something, $14 a month, 16.
Right, and then it dropped it to $9.
Oh, okay.
I went back and looked at it. It's $9 now.
Yeah. So what they do is they give it to you free for 30 days. Always do the monthly.
Right.
And then once you sign up for the monthly, They know that you don't want to keep it because they're trying to sell you a year. They always want to do annually. So when you do the monthly, then they'll offer you something, like they'll send you something and say, hey, what if we did $9, right? And then you can buy an entire year at $9. Okay. So now I can see your Making Trading Easy tracker. I can see your Moon tracker. Okay, so now because when you have the free program, you're only allowed 2 indicators, but you can't have alerts. So you have to pay for at least the cheapest version of their trading view. So yesterday we weren't able to add both the indicators, the tracking or the action trackers. So go to your indicators, invite only, and you have tracker 2 right now. So we're going to add the Making Trading Easy, just the regular tracker.
That would be indicators.
Yep, click indicators. And the box will open up. You're going to go to your invite only, bottom left. Yeah. Now go to indicators. Click it. There should be a box that opens. No. Click the indicators. Yeah, click that. Right. Go to invite only, all the way down on your left. And then you're going to get the regular tracker. Yeah, that one. Click that. And then that's pretty much it. Okay, so now that's on your page as well. Okay, so now close that box out. So now this is all about getting your settings put together here. So what we're going to do for this one is go to tracker 2 and then shut off the eyeball for tracker 2. No. You just had it. Yeah. Go back to the indicator itself. Down left. The eyeball is how you get rid of, how you close, so you don't see it on the page. No. Go to tracker 2.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Right here, right?
Yeah. But, okay, now you have to, hit the eyeball, because what we're going to do is we're getting rid of the that indicator right now for to get set up. Okay, so now this is the 30-minute time frame. Okay, and you can see that to your right you had a buy signal on there. So let's rotate and what we need to do here is we need to set up alerts so that you are aware of when Bitcoin is signaling a buy or sell. Let's change the 30-minute to a 1 hour time frame. Or you know what, you can do a 45-minute, like all the intervals. Do 45 minutes.
The 245 minutes?
No, 45 minutes. 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, right there. Okay, so now what this does is when you have higher time frames, it gets you in a position where you can see where you see how it has the green and the red, kind of like, covering the area. It's just letting you know when the indicators are being set up. You can see the where they're triggering, right? So what the indicators that we have is, what's great about them is that you adjust them because every coin has a different value, right? So Bitcoin's one of the biggest value coins out there, the biggest, $110,000, $100,000 a coin. And then you also have coins like Doge, which we like to trade because it works basically off of how Bitcoin moves, but that's only at 20 cents. So indicators and settings are important to learn so that you can adjust the settings to what makes sense for your time frame, right? So when you first start out, you want to get yourself in a position where you're doing lower leverage, longer trades, so that you can just get used to the workings, right? So what I want you to do now is go to the VCMTF Making Trading Easy action tracker, and then go to the name of it first so that you can see the settings. Okay, go to settings to the right, which is the middle cog. Click on that, and then when that box pops up, I want you to take the box and move it to the right and keep it open, but so we can see the chart. Go to the top, grab it, and just move it to the right. Up. Grab the whole box. Yeah, move it to the right. Keep going. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is make some adjustments. So what I want you to do is on the ATR period, I want you to take that down and let's put it at 5. So now go down to the multiplier, and when you click down there, it'll give you the. So when you type it in, it you have to leave the box for it to register. Okay, so now we're just taking a look as far as how it moves. So let's move this multiplier. Use the arrows. Let's move that multiplier up to 10. Then just click the arrows. Oh yeah, if you click the arrows, then you don't have to leave the box. All right. Okay. So now you see how the indicators are adjusting to the frame. So now using the arrows, bring the multiplier down to 7. Just click 3 times.
Bring the ATR multiplier down to 7.
Yeah, just keep clicking it. Let's go down to 7. And what we're doing is we're adjusting how it sees the candles and where we want it to be. Okay, so not too bad. Let's go down to 5. Okay, so what this is going to do is on here, we can see that it's picking up a buy signal on a consolidation area, and then it's making its move, right? So now, let's see here. All right, so now you can hit OK. Keep those settings for right now.
Hit OK. Just
Yeah, just hit OK on there.
tap that. Okay.
Now, how you operate your trading view is when you have your mouse over the area that has the candles. When you scroll the mouse up and down with the wheel, it makes those things. It makes your box move a certain way. So scroll it up, and so that's you moving the mouse. So like on your wheel, you have that little wheel that goes back and forth. So so if you click on that screen, and now rotate. And what that's going to do is move your page side to side. You see what I'm saying? And then to make the charts bigger or smaller, you can condense them. So let's say you see where the numbers are. The price of the coin is to the right. Click in that area, right, or just hover over it, and now use your mouse to roll up and down. And you're going to see how you make it taller and shorter. So what you want to do is just so you want to see areas. Okay, so now we want to condense that a little bit so we can see more of the chart. So now go back over to the candle section. Yeah, click on it, and now roll your mouse until it condenses it. Kind of brings it side to side, like vertical, like horizontal, like you know what I'm saying. Like it brings the screen together.
Click the mouse and hold. Click it.
Yeah, here I'll show you. Okay, so the tracker. Go back to the tracker. Let me get the settings that you have on your 45. So go to the settings. Go over to settings there, and so I can see it real quick. So I can just make my adjustment. All right. So your tracker is hover over tracker. Go to settings. Okay. So right here we're using 5.5. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen so that we can roll through this a little bit faster. So you can
go back to the Discord.
Well, you're going to see me pop in. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And when I share it, you should be able to look at it in there. And then let me see here. And I'm going to pick to where you can go and look at my screen and let me know if you see the trading view screen.
Okay. Would you like me to close this price action tracker out?
Yeah, you're fine. You can close that out. You see my screen where you can see the trading view?
Okay, I'm going to the Discord, right?
Yeah. I'm in the Discord. I'm sharing my screen.
Okay. Yeah. Make it bigger. No, see your screen, coach. I just see.
Do you see the screen now? So you should be able to go to my name to the right side. You click on it, it says see stream or watch
Yeah, I
stream.
see it. Oh, I see it now, coach.
Okay, you're in trading view. You see my trading view?
I see it straight in view.
Okay.
It's got you up at the top left, and you're setting at. You have a green, like a
Box.
green box right
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so how this
Yeah.
works? Yeah. So basically, when you're inside of this area here, right? If you roll your mouse, you're not like roll your mouse around, but the wheel on your mouse. You see how I'm moving the
Oh,
chart.
right.
So when
I
you
didn't even have my mouse, coach. I was using my. Just,
yeah, you got to have a mouse when you use TradingView.
I got a mouse.
So
Grab it right.
yeah, so when you roll it together, we can make the charts condense so that they're taller. Right? So bring the sides in so we can see the whole chart. Okay, so now let's see here. And you can always, like I said, like you can this all be recorded for you, so you can go back and take a look at it, so that way you can um, get yourself, all set up correctly. All right, now you have your ATR calculation method is off.
It is okay.
Yeah,
Go to.
yeah, which
Hold
is
on,
fine.
Discord. Set it like yours.
No, it has it
Go to
off,
my
so I'm just
trading view.
readjusting the signals and everything to where the settings for this. So this will help you like understand that when you, because most people like to track a specific coin, right? So what you can do here is you just set yourself up. Now most of the settings that we have inside the Discord are already preset, and you can use them for what when you're trading that particular time frame. So this will just be a walkthrough of the overall using the indicators and how to um, adjust them to a specific coin that you're trying to use. And then you can always post like, hey, I'm trading this coin, can you help me with the settings? And then we'll go in there and help you guys out set that up. So
I think I'm gonna be trading BTC for the next 2 years,
yeah.
and BTC only for the next 2 years.
And yeah, so this is just a basic, and it's easy to kind of like go through the Bitcoin side just to show you what we're doing here. So now once we have our indicators set up and we have the settings that we want, I'm going to start you off on a 45 minute just so that you can. Let me take a look at the 30 and see how it's running there, and that's just for allowing um, the signals to um, play out a lot, a little more differently um, on the orders. So you're not like buying and selling, because a lot of times buying and selling, you're not getting yourself in a position of looking at the basics, right? So step one is just learning how to trade simple, right? So we'll start with Bitcoin. It's very simple. So now what I want to show you is that you can see on my screen right here, right? So once we got our indicator set up, making trading easy, this is the price action tracker 1, right? It just says ICE tracker. It's not the 2, okay? So the price action 1, and the settings that we're using here is ATR period 6, ATR multiplier 3.5, and that should, you can make that adjustment to yours as well. So 6 and then multiplier 3.5, okay? And we are using this on a 45-minute time frame. But like I said, this video will be posted in the Discord for you. It's also on YouTube. You can go back and look at this and then make sure you get yourself squared away. All right, so now what we're going to do here is, now that we have our settings for this 45-minute, you can see here that what we want to do next is set up alerts. Okay, like I said, you upgraded to that first level of trading view so that you have 20 alerts. All you're going to do is slide over to the buy signal, right click, add alert to the VC making trading easy price action tracker, and then it's all on here. And then what you can do is there's a buy action. Now if we want to have the buy action or a sell action, which is a very specific alert, when you have, like, I have a premium account because I basically I use a bunch of different indicators as I'm teaching.
Right.
But I can have 1,000, 100, 200 alerts, right? So if you're, the cool thing about this is that the indicators are designed to have individual alerts that'll send an alert when it buys, and it'll say like VC price action buy, or you'll get an alert that says price action sell. Or if you're on the cheaper version and you don't have, you need some alerts while you're kind of working or starting off, you can use the VTC price action direction change, which we added to our indicator. So this way it just alerts you when it changes direction. So whether it's a buy or a sell, you'll get an alert, and then you can obviously go look. Now obviously if you're in a buy situation and you get a directional change alert, well, that means you need to go sell. So it alerts you of both indicators.
Say it again. If we get a buy, that means we need to sell?
Yeah, so it's very simple. So you can set an alert that's simply for the buy action. And then you can set an alert that tells you when to sell. But we included the price action direction change because that alerts you when it's buy and sell. Meaning that if it's turning into, let's say that currently right now it's a buy signal, right? And we put the direction change. Anytime it changes directions, whether it goes from buy to sell or sell to buy, you get an alert. But what that does for you, instead of setting an alert on buy and then setting a second alert on sell, if you just set the direction change, you get an alert when it changes direction.
Okay, and then we look at the chart, and the chart's going to act.
Yeah, obviously if you're in a short and it changes direction, then it's a long. If you're in a long and it changes direction, it's a short, right?
Correct.
Now, if you have, you're only trading one coin or this or that, then you can pick, you can set up 2 alerts. Like for instance here, we can set up a buy action, which I'll keep it on, and then I'll go down and I'll go once per bar, and all I'm going to do is go to the messages up top, and I'm going to add a custom name. And what here you're going to do is type in what time frame and what coin it is so that you know what's happening. So I'm going to put 45-minute BTC, and since this is a buy alert, I'm going to put buy, okay? And then the message below is VTC price action buy as well, and I'm going to create this alert. Now, if I'm looking to short, I'm going to go over to the same, you can go to the same buy or the sell signal, it doesn't matter, or just find the line that's tapered, click on it, and you should see the top where it says add alert to VC price action tracker. So now I'm going to go and say, okay, I don't want to buy. I want to get the sell signal once per bar. And then I go to the message and I type in custom name. This is a 45-minute BTC sell. And then I'm going to create it. Now I'm going to also create the directional change alert just so that I have all three on there. So this way you can, and you should do the same so that you can see the difference. So this will be a 45-minute. Let me go back to settings. So I'm going to change it from a buy and a sell, and I'm going to put direction change per bar. Go to message. I'm going to type in 45-minute BTC direction, right? CH change, right? And then I'm going to create it. So now what I've done is I've created 3 alerts, one specifically for a buy, one specifically for a sell, and one specifically to tell me when it changes any direction, up, down, down, up, whatever, right? And the reason why I'm doing that is so that when I get my alerts, which is to the right hand side, you'll see the little alarm clock, right? You click the little alarm clock and then you'll see this. You have the alerts. These are the alerts that you are setting, okay? They tell you when they're active, and when they go off, you can simply restart them, okay, if you want to continue to use them, right? And then the log, which is important, the log tells you when the alert happened. So you can go back, look at the time frame. Like, so for instance, I have an alert here on a 10-minute Bitcoin change, right? So if I click that alert, it's going to take me to a 10-minute chart, and you can see that I have a 10-minute Bitcoin change of direction. Now this alert came at, and you can just kind of like hover over it. So there was a 10-minute Bitcoin change, and it changed directions, and it happened on the 8th, May 8th, 2025, and it triggered, so that's when it was created, and it was triggered Monday, June 2nd at 1800 hours. Now that time is actually the time that's indicated on your trading view. Now your trading view time is down below in this little section here, if you can see it. Currently it's in the time zone of 19:11:11, so it's army time. So basically 7:11 11:11, so it's army time. So basically 7:11 time. Now my alert is telling me that it went off at 14:18. So if I go to my chart and I scroll down and I look for Monday the 2nd at 14:18 right here, you can see that it's talking about this alert.
Which 218, right?
Yeah. So today at 2:18, I got an alert that told me that I should be buying Bitcoin, and the call out came when this alert popped in, and Bitcoin was at $104,734. Now, had I placed that order, I could have came in and bought Bitcoin off of that section. It's normally somewhere in here. I would currently be up on this trade at its current position. I would be up around 1.2%. Now, which is great because the system is based on using futures, and with Bitcoin we use a 50% leverage, right? Which means that every 1% that we move, we make 50% gains. So if we would have did our normal investment of $1,000, we would be up $500 right now. Actually 700 right now because we're at 1.2. That's not a bad day. So now, understanding how to get your entries and everything in your best position is the next step of once you have your alert set and everything correctly, and what time frames you're learning on, etc. Right? Is now the next thing is to learn how to correctly set an entry point and a stop loss, and to get your trade going, which is where you're at today. So that's I have a 10-minute alert because I'm trading on a 10-minute time frame because I'm using the higher leverage. So normally when I get this trade, I use a leverage of 100%. So I would have made, normally I trade about 2 or 3 thousand. So this would have been a $3,000 trade for me.
Mm. Yep.
So so it's all the same system. It's just, the higher time frames just gives you time to kind of like see the levels of where you should enter supports and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and walk through this trade here. So obviously I had a 10-minute alert happen at 218. We can see the buy signal, right? Now, what I would do here is in this particular section here on this buy signal is I would just walk through when I got my alert. So here we can see it happen at 218, which was on this candle, right? So on this candle, the alert popped in and we would end up somewhere around 104, etc. Now, I'm going to do a little bars here. So that's when the price came in, right? And that's the first thing that we get. Now, the key to it is entering at the best possible pricing area and making sure that you're catching the pullback. And the ideal is very simple. You don't have when an alert goes off, you don't have to get into every single trade. You want to start off by getting into and winning every trade. The reason why we use leverage is so that we can magnify our profits and not have to be so worried about the trade itself. So let's go ahead and put ourselves in the situation where we get this alert, right? So when this alert pops off, we're looking at a particular candle, and it's in this section here. This is our candle section here, and we have our entry position of 104,752. Now, the first thing that we would do is the basic is always take a look at a RSI at a 30-minute RSI, and to get ourselves into an ideal of where we're at as far as like volume and things that people are buying. And the other thing that we're looking at is the 30-minute moon indicator to see where the volume is. And you can see at that moment these yellow lines here are representing the time that the alert had went off. So just gives us a perspective of, I'll turn this into smaller
Coach,
ones.
will the moon always be in that green shade, or do we don't want to change those colors?
Well,
we want to keep
yeah, because green is green.
So that can be up.
Yeah, blue is you can change the moon to blue. You can change it to red if you want it, but green is up, blue is down.
Right.
So what I'm doing here is that when I get the alert, what I'm looking for is the very first thing that I'm really looking for is that if the volume on the trade is actually moving above the zero line. So if you kind of see the moon, there's always a perforated yellow line here. That's the zero line, right? You see this little line here.
Yes.
That's when you want to be above that line, because that's showing that there's enough buying pressure and volume that'll actually have an upward movement, right? So that's what we're looking for, is just clarification and confirmation that there's actually like volume happening. And the reason why the buy signal went off is just to let you know that it is happening, right? And the second thing, we're using our RSIs. We just want to be in a position where we're seeing that the RSIs are moving in an upward position, meaning that the current momentum is in a upward movement, which just increases the odds of you being successful. Okay?
Yes.
So when we take a look here, let's take a look at the moon. You can see here that the yellow line, the alert went off at this time here, 14:28, which is somewhere a little bit past here, but you can see that when it came down, it rejected becoming a blue moon, right? Which would have been a negative situation there if those two lines crossed, but instead it started to bounce up in an upward direction. So we can see there that is showing us that there is an upward movement there. So that is a good sign that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to get upward movement, right? So that's kind of like the bonus of where that is headed, right? So that's a good sign there. That something lets us know that it rejected the going into a negative volume situation, and now it is bouncing up. So that is just a confirmation of understanding that currently we're in a good position there, and at this time about 14 that would already have been going up. So then we could see there and go, okay, we're moving in a positive direction. So now we slide down to the RSI. Same thing. This time frame is about 14, and then when the alarm went off, it was at 14:18. So basically, on this next move here, we can see that the RSI is also moving in an upward direction.
Correct.
So both these confirmations let us know that we are in a high percentage situation, that where this is probably going to be a successful trade, and the alert is all just verifying that. And it's just a way to start to train yourself to see the positive sides of how to kind of like build the confidence on the trade. So now that we see that happening there, we can go back down, take a look at the 10 minute, and the 10 minutes in the same scenario. Let's take a look at the moon, and you can see here that when this is going off here, the 10 minute actually has a green moon that went off, and it is moving in an upward direction here on the moon chart, and also down here in the RSI. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let me open that up, would you? Then on the RSI, it's also showing that it looks like the RSI is having a upward movement there. Let me get back in that Bitcoin chart. There you go. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't want to just open up the page. Give me a second here. So scroll up, double click. There we go. So we can see here that when that alarm went off, if we took a look at our RSI here at 1400, 1418 would have been in this section here, that we could see that the RSI had made its move to the top here, right? So 14.8, we'll lock this line in here at 14.20, and you can see that we're at a top peak of the 10 minute. So what we'd want to do here is that not entering at a top of a 10 minute RSI, we'd wait for the RSI to make its move to the downward plateau, and then when it decided to show us that it was crossing back over, which would happen somewhere on this line here, it would be about looks like about 1600, so about 4 o'clock. So now let's take a look at this section, and you can see here how that's moving to the upward, and what I'm going to do here is just show you where that is on the chart. You see?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now, once we let the chart play out, which is simply, the first part is we get an alert, there's a push, which is why the alert went off. We wait for the pullback, or the RSI, the 10 minute RSI, or the RSI is the 10 minute at least to pull back, because I am playing the 10 minute alert chart. I wait for the alert to pull back, and then once I have that pullback and it starts to reverse, that's where that I would be entering into this position, which would be probably somewhere off of this candle here. Yeah. And that's the the price that we'd be looking. It's the same price that we would have got in earlier. I just want to ensure that the success of my trade is a little bit better, and I'm going to always wait for that first pullback. Now sometimes it doesn't pull back, it goes running like crazy. If it's the RSI is at the bottom, then I would have entered that trade, because I realize I'm getting the beginning of the 10 minute, right? Meaning that if I would have seen, like you see on down here, the RSI on the 10 minute is actually at the bottom. Now if that alert would have went off and I would have got it at 1340, right here, and I seen the reversal of it going up, well then I would have took the trade earlier, which would have been somewhere around this candle here, and then I would have entered there because I had the momentum of the 10-minute RSI. You see?
Yeah, it was flowing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have got in at 104,370, 327 versus 104,804, right? And that's just, and sometimes the alerts will send you an alert that's coming, and you can go look, and as you get better in how to understand what's happening on charts, you can make those earlier trades to get in and then take advantage of that first move up. And then a lot of times on that move, if you make enough from that move on the first option, which is 0.56, it allows you to get your second entry on the pullback. So you'd put 50% of your bag in, get the first push up. When it pulls back the second time, get the other 50% of your entry, and then take the full ride at 104.08. So that's kind of like the ideal of understanding, how to position yourself in waiting for the pullback and have yourself set up. The second thing that we're going to do here is knowing that part is just kind of like when you get the alert is getting yourself set up in a way that you can see the channels and the areas of resistance that it might come back to, and understanding where you can just preset yourself up and say, okay, if it pulls back to this price, then I'm going to, take advantage of it. So let's get rid of these real quick. And what we do here, what I mean by that is you get a buy alert, you slide over, you go to 5 minutes, and let me go to 10 minutes. I just want to mark the trade. So we got a buy alert, and it came in somewhere around here. Now I'm going to slide back to 5 minutes, and this is how you would basically, look at it and go, okay, so if let's say you get a buy alert here, and by the time you look at the buy alert, you can see that the price is, I'll make this yellow so we understand. So we can see that the price is now above this level here, right? So currently the price is here and it's heading up, right? So we don't want to get in without, getting a better price. So what we would do here is we would watch and look at our support zones, right? So we can see here that I'm going to pull up a thing called all it is a parallel, and you find on your trend lines parallel channel. So if I draw a parallel channel here and I go back and I look at the support, right, I can see that that Bitcoin has a support here, a lower support here, and then currently over the last little bit of time it's been trading at that level. So you see those, I'll make it a little bit thicker, and we'll make what color is a good color to see here? Maybe orange. Okay, so we'll make it orange, right? So now you can see here that
looks better.
yeah. So now I can see that based off the current pattern that it's been trading, there is a support line, on top of these areas here that have been a normal thing. So you can see that you have a support here, you have a support line that pushed a little bit higher here, and then you have another one here. You don't want to go to the top of the candles, but you want to go to the top of the body of the tallest candle, and then if the wicks on the other ones are touching it, it kind of gives you a a good idea of where the support is. Sometimes people might go down here and say, okay, I want this would be a support area that I would think, right? This one shows me that this is a normal support, but then there was a burst that got us a little bit higher on that third one, right? So that would be the support of the highest resistance that we had previously seen on the last couple big pushes that failed to break out. Okay, and then on the other hand, you can also see that you can see the support where it kind of like found its support side and it was bouncing off of that, and this is what's called a channel, right? Now a lot of people, when you find a good channel or something like that, the reason why we use leverage is this channel actually is a 0.5% channel, meaning a 0.5%, right? So a lot of people will trade the bottom of the channel and then sell when it reaches the top of the channel, right? That's a 0.5%. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're using 100% leverage, that's a 50% trade, okay?
Yes.
And the other thing is that if you catch the momentum, right? So like you see here on the 5 minute, you can see that we have a 5 minute buy signal right here, and that 5 minute buy signal had went off a little bit differently. That went off on 7 a.m. in the morning. So almost 5 hours earlier, we had a 5 minute buy signal. Now, if you're a trader looking at a channel, you see a buy signal, you go take a look and you let the channel play out as you're waiting for your next buy signal to happen, and you start to see that there's a channel here from bottom to top that it starts to, maneuver, right? So like this bottom one, you can even take this down a little bit further right about here. And that kind of creates the level of Bitcoin of where it's bouncing off of. You see how it's pushing up, bouncing off, pushing up. And then right here towards the last part before we have our trade for the 10 minute, you can see that it starts to stabilize above the middle, which is that orange perforated line. You can see that it starts to actually, instead of coming all the way back down to the bottom of the channel, it's starting to find the middle of the channel as support. That's that's a key position to let you know that it is building momentum, right?
Correct.
So
Yes.
if you're watching that as you're going along, you can start to say to yourself, well, I can put a buy signal, right? And I can come back and say, okay, you know what? This is building momentum, is that I can actually buy when it's bouncing off of this middle section here. Now, once we did get the buy signal, it happened to be at the top of this other candle up here. So once it's above that, support that it just broke out of, what we would actually be doing is we would be looking to set a buy in the area of that support it just broke, right? So what we're looking for is for it to come back and touch that support. So you can see the two green arrows are showing you two areas that if you put a buy in those actions, which would be a price action, price label, where would have been 104.584, that when it came back after that first spike, if you put it on that level there and you set a buy, one of these pullbacks would have triggered a entry position for you. Do you see that?
Yes.
So this is kind of like the buy zone that would have created the area of where you would put a buy. So that is kind of like understanding inside that white box. You'd say, okay, when that pulls back and it hits this area here, I'm going to have that support. I'm going to put a buy signal on top of that support that it just broke at 104.584.
Yeah.
So that's how you use your alerts. The alert went off to buy. I would have looked at this, looked at the previous channel that it was in, and I would have set my buy on top of that channel for it to return to that section. And then by doing that, I would then also create a so most of the time you want to use like a 20% or 25% stop loss, right? So which means if you say you're using a 50x leverage on Bitcoin, a 1% move would create a 50% move. So that means a 0.5% move would create a 25% move. So you can see here that if I do a 0.5% on my, so this tool here is just, you go over, it's called a long position, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. It's called a long position. And then you open it up and you put it on the chart, and what you can do is it measures percentages. So when I measure it up to a 0.5, right? Meaning that if it was 1%, that means Bitcoin would have done a I'm doing 50x leverage, so 50 times 1% is 50. Half of that is 25%, so I want a 0.5. Now what this allows me to do is by entering my level at that position and having a stop loss at 25%, that means my trade could have went all the way down to the bottom of this white box, and it still would have, that's how much I could have gone down and still been at a 20, that only gives me a 25% loss. You see what I'm saying? So you see that white arrow? So when I entered these positions, that's how low my stop loss was. So obviously, I didn't hit the stop loss here, and then I was able to get in this position and this current trade in this position as it moves its way up, because you can see on the 5-minute buy signal, I do not have a 5-minute sell yet, okay? Which would be my signal to get out of my trade. So currently, I would be sitting at a 1.59% trade, which times 50% would be 1%, 50, 0.5, which is a half a percent, would be 25. So we'd be up 75% on this trade. So,
Got in on trade last night, man.
yeah.
Should have started last night. God, like.
So that's, but first thing is understanding.
Dropped it in
Yeah. So the first thing is understanding how to, not how to get into a trade once an alert triggers for you. Okay. So let's back this up, and that's kind of an example of how you can do a 10-minute trade, and then using the 5-minute for a pre-warning, and then when the 10-minute trade goes off, using the support from the previous channel to give yourself an entry point, right? Because what most people do and how they fail is when a coin becomes hot, they enter the trade at the current price, which is already pumping, and then there's a huge pullback or percent pullback, and then they go down immediately 10, 20, 30% in their trade, and they either panic and close, or it goes down and triggers their stop loss, and they're out of the trade, which costs them an entry cost and 20 to 30% of their money, and then the trade goes up, and then they jump in again at the next big move, and then it pulls back, and then they lose that momentum, and they end up kind of like in the middle of the trade, and they make 35-40%, but they already lost 30%, so they break even. So the mistake is always not putting a entry price on a area of support that previously broke, or an area that makes sense, so that if you do get into the trade, you're already, think of it like this: if you enter the trade wrong, it goes down 30% and then it goes the other direction, and you're putting yourself at risk. But if you put yourself at a 25% or 30% lower entry position, and the trade triggers an entry and it goes down a little bit, you've already kind of created a cushion of a 30% stop loss, that which you normally would be down. You've already had that in that position to protect yourself, because you've already decided that you're entering at a lower price because you don't want to pay too much for the entry, right? So it's about being greedy on an entry and not being greedy in trying to get a coin to go further up, right? So where I make my money is my entries are 30 to 50% better than most people, so that when the coin does move up 50 to 60%, I'm up 110, where most people are only up 60, and they have to get greedy and try to get another 40, and then the coin ends up going all the way back to their entry point and they make nothing. I get greedy on the entry. I don't pay full price. I want the pullback price. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to be greedy, not the other way, hoping that it continues to go up after it's gone up. That's just stupid. So this is the concept that you will apply to all your positions. So now let's take this and take a look and say, okay, let's look at how the chart would look for you on your 45 minutes, right? Because you're trading, you're going to start off looking for the alerts on the 45 minute, and that will give you kind of like an ideal to start practicing, right? And when you first trade, as always, the ideal is to start off with a very small bag, something like $50, and then stop losses are 25%, leverages are 50x on Bitcoin, and you every time you trade, you use the same bag. So if you're going to use a $50 bag, you use the same $50. Even if you lose 25% of it, you add a little bit to the next bag. It's always 50. And the goal is if you have the same bag over and over, and when you win a trade, it's worth 50 to 75 to 100%, and when you lose, it's only 25. So if you lose 4 trades, you lose 100% of $50, which would be $50. But the other 6 trades you won are giving you 50% to 100%. So say an average of 75% of $50, which is, we'll just call it 40. And you have that 6 times. That's a $200 win minus the $50 in losses, means that you've made $150. So you successfully in 10 trades turned 50 into $100 worth of profit. So you've doubled your bag. Right? So you have 100 in profit using $50. You're up 100. You made your bag. You've doubled it twice. Okay?
Yes.
Very simple mathematics. So now for you, we're going to take a look here, and I'm going to slide over, and we're going to go to the 45-minute. So now what would happen here for you is that your alert would have actually gone off a little bit differently, and you can see that your alert here would have went off at Saturday the 31st. You would have got a buy signal, and I'm going to turn this one here. We're just going to make this one blue, or we'll make it red or pink. Okay, so this is when your buy signal went off, right? Now when your buy signal went off, it's the same situation. You would just basically when you get that signal there, you can see that May 31st you got a signal, you got a buy signal. Now I'm going to make this pink a little bit thicker because I'm going to show you the same workflow that we would have done to figure out a buy section, right? So we get a signal, there's a buy. We click on the 45 minutes, we then slide down to the 5-minute time frame, and let's slide over here and find our pink box. And what we're doing here on the 5-minute time frame is we're going to just see where we're at as far as a channel. So then we go back, we find our little parallel channel, and then if this was the buy area, the information that we have would have simply put us in a section somewhere like here. So at that current time, we could see that there was the top of the channel, which is when the alert went off, and the middle of the channel, and the lowest part of the channel, right? So now we cross that channel over, right? Let me get rid of this yellow, and I'm gonna make all these pink right now because we're working on the pink zone. And what we purple?
Lavender, I guess.
Lavender, yeah. So now you can see, yeah. So very simple. We get an alert. It pops off right here. There's the alert. And the alert tells us that there's a buy signal happening at that price, right? So let's go ahead and price this up. And we're like, all right, there's a buy signal happening at $100,369. Then what we do here is we take that and we mark that, and we go, okay, now we got to create a channel. That's the top of the channel right there that the alert went off of. And we want to pull that and say, okay, is there any areas where we've seen high areas of Bitcoin, right? So you come over there, and you can see that in this section here, we have these areas of Bitcoin, and then you can come down and you can kind of say, okay, well, the channel actually happens down here. So you see that you can see the channels are forming, right? So on here you have a couple different areas that we can look at and kind of like determine a solid channel. So it does look on the bottom side that Bitcoin has a bottom channel that's about in that section there. And that kind
That's
of,
the Gaussian. It's sitting in the Gaussian channel.
yeah, so it's sitting right
Right.
about here. And then
Uh-huh.
the push to the top side, you can see is right where it kind of broke out from its position, right? You see there, and then
Right there. Right.
yeah, and then let me get rid of that arrow. So on these two right here, you can see that prior we had where Bitcoin was touching the top, and I'll show you on the big arrow over here. You can see where it was touching that top area and kind of fighting through
Yeah.
there.
Right.
So we can,
All the way through here.
yeah, we can kind of like go, like I said, you go to the top of the body, the tall one in the Wix touch, and then we go to the bottom side, and then we say, okay, this looks like a solid um, Bitcoin channel here, and maybe right there, and we say, okay, that's what we're seeing so far. So this channel, this purple channel here that we have now, is kind of like our guide to where we're seeing the price of Bitcoin. So now we have where Bitcoin has set off, and we see that there's a buy signal here at the 104. Kind of like the 104, 360, something like that, right? So now,
Is that okay?
what we would do here is, like I said, we don't buy on the pressure to the upside, right? We buy on the pullback of where this should go, right? So the pullback price that we actually would want to go for, it seems it would be probably about 104.71. And you can see that basically right here is that once we have the alert, we'd be setting up a buy signal somewhere on the top of that channel. You see how that works?
Yes. At the top right there.
Yeah. So that would be the ideal for us to kind of like sit in there and kind of look. Now, the greedy side is like I said, it's always like, you know, trying to buy something at a lower price that makes more sense for us. And so when you look at your channel, a lot of times we'd be sitting say, okay, this is probably the top channel that I'm looking at. Looks like that's where it kind of broke through, and that's the channel that we would keep as far as for our um, price action side, right? Now, once we have that set up, we can look at our pricing, and we can say, okay, in the future, we could sit and see a buy happening somewhere around 104, 143, right? Then what we would do is, now that we have that price buy section set up, we would then, as always, take a look at our very first thing is, let me draw this line all the way down, is we want to take a look and make sure that, where this buy signal is happening, is that we also have our RSIs set up to where, they're in the right direction. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll turn these white down here so we can see them. So we can see that, here's the 5 minute. We want to run over to the 10 minute anyways. There we go. So we can see here that the 10 minute is, coming down, bouncing, and heading its way back up. And when you're working on a larger time frame, you'd want to see it actually, come all the way back down to where it touches the bottom, and then you're getting into a good section. So that would be something more when it finally retouches the base or the bottom. And it would be
Coach, when you say on a larger time frame, you mean like something like 2 hours or an hour or?
no, you're 45 minutes. Yeah, 45 minutes and up, 30 minutes and up.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you want that cycle to run. So now that we have that there, we can see that when we correspond that with the chart, we'd be looking for an entry point, somewhere past this section here. And obviously, we're still in a good spot. It hasn't hit our pullback price yet. So at that point, we're just kind of like, okay, so it's doing its momentum. It all looks good. Our low price of 104, 143 is still set there. And then that's kind of like our set. Now we can see what happens is, over time, just by using that support, we didn't get that buy signal until literally way down here. Now, the thing about this is when that buy signal finally hit, we were already a little ways down. So it's kind of set up in that little spot there. So let me run this across so we can see everything. All right, so on that, you can see that the pullback, like even though after it hit its buy signal in that area there, right, and this is why it's important to play the leverage side, is that it went back down and it did touch the middle of the channel, right? So you see here, like we had a buy that happened there, but then it did fall down. Right, let me see what its movement from here to here was. So this movement was about a 50% move to the top, and then this movement here to the bottom of this channel was a 0.42. So it didn't hit the 0.50, which would have been the 25% stop loss, and it actually, after that happened, you can see that we escaped this pullback and then it went for this run here. So eventually we got to the point where we got to about 2% gains. Let's go back here to the 5 minutes here. And the thing about this is the buy signal went off. We were in our trade. Then we went through a 5-minute sell process, which almost triggered our stop loss, which is this first move here, but it didn't quite get there. And then eventually the 5-minute went into another buy signal here, right? You see that right there, that big arrow? And then we had that move, which would have been from this point here that we went up. And then we didn't get another sell signal until that next dip there, which is the 5-minute sell. Now that created a 0.9, so that's a 1% move, right? So what that means is on a 50x leverage, right, at that point, we would have seen our gain, right? So because our goal is to close on profits after 30%, right? So in this scenario, we've seen a 50% gain. The 5-minute came in and basically triggered a sale, which it gave us about a 40 to 50% gain situation that we could have closed out and been successful, because we don't need to stay in a trade for a very long time to, you know, get the gains that we want, because if we make a trade that earns 30% profit every single time, then if you're trading $100, that's $30, and every 10 trades is 300. And the ideal is to master the 30% profits, so that when you trade 1,000, you're taking in $30, 30% every time, which is 300. 10 trades a week, 10 times 300 is 3,000. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this trade successful even with the pullback that happened, but that's why looking for the correct entry point gives you the best chance of success. Now, on a 45-minute, a lot of times once you have an entry, you're in a position where you're kind of not selling your position until you have a 15-minute sell signal or something like that, right? So you can see here that when that entry did happen, we hit our support. At the current time, there was a 15-minute sell, but then what happened was it went into a 15-minute buy, right? Now, when the 15-minute sell signal went off, right? So let's say if you're watching the trade, right, as you get better at your trade, and because a lot of times you're going to set a trade and forget it. Our entry point was at 104, 109. It was already lower, and it happened to be triggered after the 15-minute sell signal had went into effect. Now, if we had been watching this, or we, you know, as you get to learn all the ins and outs, you could have set a 15-minute sell alert signal on Bitcoin so that when that sell alert went off, you could have went back and looked at your trade and realized that your trade hadn't currently been triggered. See what I'm saying? And you could have went and said, okay, well let me turn my trade offer right now because there's a 15-minute sell signal, and I want that to play its position. So notice here, when that 15-minute sell signal went off, you can see on the RSI that the 15-minute RSI was at the bottom. It then went to the top, reset itself, came all the way back to the bottom again, right? So you see that white line where it reset there on the RSI?
Right.
Now at that point, if you're watching your trade, you see how the channel has that lower section there, right?
Right here.
You see where my arrow is? I'm gonna
Right
make it
there.
white. Yeah, the white arrow in the middle. See it?
Right.
So now, what you could do is, you could say to yourself, "Oh, I got a 15-minute sell signal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my buy price down and just basically, let's say, halfway between the top channel and the middle channel, and put a buy signal somewhere at around 103,857. You see the new buy signal there? Let me make that a little bigger. Right? So what you could have done is, when you seen the 15-minute sell signal go on, you could say, you know what? I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to move my entry price close in between the top and the middle of the support of channel that I already know exists. Right? Because since you're working on a 45-minute time frame, that means in order for the 45-minute time frame to have a buy signal, then it has to have a lot of push and momentum building up. That's why it triggered. So it has a better odds of it actually progressing into a buy situation than a lower time frame, because the lower time frames are working off very small momentums and volumes that they trigger a lot more consistently. But when a bigger time frame triggers, that means that it's built up a certain level of volume and momentum that eventually it's going to have to top off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But by understanding that you got a 15-minute sell signal on your 45-minute long trade, you would then readjust your entry if it hasn't already hit to a better entry position of somewhere between the middle of the top bar and, sometimes, even here, I would probably be the guy that says I'm going to the top of the middle of that, right? But you don't want to miss that. So maybe slightly above it, 60%, you know what I'm saying? Somewhere in between there, slightly above the support of the middle beam, and somewhere around there is where I would sit. So normally it'd be like the middle is 50, so I'd be sitting at 65, maybe 70%, somewhere around there, and I would have set an entry at 103,857. Then what that allows me is, from that position, that a 0.5, which right there, that means that if I get in at that position, I'll put it here, that means that my stop loss would have actually been almost to the bottom of the original channel, you see?
Right there, right?
So that's a pretty good odds right there.
What's that, 103,380?
Mm-hmm. So we,
What's that, 103,360?
yeah, so 103,380. Yeah, so we would actually been, our stop loss would have been more like 103,380.
Okay.
So by understanding how to, move your opening positions to get into a trade and adjusting them based off of the alerts, you're giving yourself better access here. And then what would have happened is we would have got into the trade a little bit better here, which creates an easier way to make profit. And then in the next sale on the 15-minute would have actually came somewhere over here. So, it doesn't matter. We could pull this down a little bit and say the bottom of that wick. So that would be the sell signal that we get, and from that position that we entered, even on that section, we still break our 1.3% move. Um, on the peak of it, we reached almost 2%. And this is where the understanding of taking the profit, is the best options on there. So when you see a 1.8% move and you're doing a 50x, well, that's about 75% profit. Your goal is 30. That's twice as much. So you would sit there and close that out at about 60% profit. That's like winning two trades at once.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy.
Yeah. So and a lot of people, the problem in the ideal is that they try to um, stay in the thinking that the trade is going to continue to go up, up, and up. Which, the thing is that if you can see here that our entry, the 103, if you go across, you can see with the white bar that ends up being the bottom of my 10-minute trade. You see where we did the earlier trade with the orange?
Yes.
The entry is actually the lower level of my channel earlier. So if you did stay in that trade, so let's say people who, stay in there until they get a 45-minute sell signal, right? You're still in this trade even though you've gone up 100 and or what 1.8.2 cents, so you're up 80%, 75%, and then it dropped all the way back down, went back up to 100%, dropped all the way back down to the original entry, and then now it has broken above the same movement, and you can see here that you're up 2.49%, and you still haven't got a 45-minute sell signal, right? So either way, you'd still be in this trade and you'd be up 2.49%, which is 125% gains. It just, for us, staying in the trade and, pushing it, it's like the odds of trades always winning that much or continuing, the odds are against you when you're just setting yourself up to say, you know what, it hit, 50% gains, I'll take it. And then if you watch, you can see that if you go back and say, okay, well, my 45-minute, signal is still a buy, right? There's no sell signal yet. And you see the coin go up, and then all of a sudden you take profits and you see it dip all the way back down to the original entry point you had of 103,857, right? And you see that your RSI on your 45 minute, take a look at it here, is actually on its way up. You see? So what you would do is take it. So here's the simple thing. So down below in the RSI, you can see where your first entry hit. If you look down at the 45-minute RSI, it starts to move downwards, right? You see where the white arrow is on the RSI. If you would have entered when the 45 minutes started to head up, you would have got that original push that we took profits on. See that?
Yes.
And then once we have profits and we let the RSI reset, it comes back down. There's another opportunity for a push, right? And then if you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to reset at my 103,857, and then you see the RSI hitting the bottom again and it starts to get close to your entry, you could have re-entered on a second trade at the bottom of that RSI, which you're saying 103,857, and you could have got another 125% gain off that.
Yes.
So once you establish, where the alerts are triggering a buy zone, which is what it's doing, the 45 minute is triggering a buy zone at 103,857. So once you made that first trade, you could say, okay, it's all resetting, it all looks good. Oh, the RSI is coming back down. Okay, here's a big pullback. Well, the RSI is heading back up, and I got another confirmation of a green moon, and notice how that we're back in the green volume. You see on the moons, you see the volume is green.
Yes.
So now that that's happening, that's indicating another push. So you already have your 103 380 entry zone. You already have that set up. So you could have set up another buy in that zone. It would have hit it, and then next thing you know, another trade. But those are, once you go through and walk yourself through trades, you can see the patterns that they're forming and how the indicators are showing you what's coming. And then it just becomes a 1, 2, 3 step of upgrading your skill level to see and take advantage of multiple trades. But at the end of the day, you didn't do bad. You got a 45-minute buy signal. You entered and you hit it for 60%, right? So at the end of the day, that's one trade, 60%. Once you master the 30% trade, which goes for normally 30 to 60 into 100, you know, your 6 out of 10 wins will equal literally an average of 50% gain. So you'll average on that side a solid 300%, and your losses will only be 25%, which means if you're terrible at doing the system, you will 200% every 10 trades. So if you have $1,000, that means every 10 trades you make $2,000. So that's an average week. But how to do it first is you start with $50 and you just learn how to take 30 to 60% per trade, and you build up your $50 bag to where you're, you know, say you start with $300 and you do $50 trades each time. Eventually you'll then have $600. Once you double your 600 to 600, then you go from $50 a trade to $100 a trade. And then when you take 600 and turn it into 1200, then you go from $100 a trade to $200 a trade. And you just keep working up to eventually, after a solid 6 to 8 weeks, you have the ability to say, oh, I'm at a $500 trade. 4 weeks later, you will have your $1,000 bag with $10,000 in savings, and you can now consistently just take $300 per trade, which is a $3,000 week. So that's the goal for you, is to master the 30% profit and turn it into a $10,000 savings from $300, and then do $1,000 trades and take $300 profits per trade and master a $3,000 week off 10 trades. Make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this video, I'm going to throw this video on the YouTube channel, yeah, and then put it on the Discord for you to go back and rewatch it. So then you can start following these steps, setting your alarms, and then walking through the trades, right? And what you want to do is that when you go through a trade, just post, you know, inside the Discord, like always, that you're doing a trade. So inside the Discord, you'll see, let me see where we have it here. So there's the free trade, you can free chat, alerts, etc. You can go to the free chat and you can post. So there's the free trade, you can free chat, alerts, etc. You can go to the free chat and you can post in there. You post your trades in there that you want, so that way when you post it, trades that go. Trading side, free Discord, tools, alerts. Let's create a folder here, and this is the 10 trade review. Okay, so now that we have this folder here, I'm going to post it. That'll be at the free trade section, free Discord section. Let me see. 10 trade review, and that'll be under free chat. So all you want to do there is just, when you go into a trade, you can just post that you just entered a trade, and all you do is type like this. You put Bitcoin long 45-minute entry, and then that entry was 1,380, waiting to trigger, and then you just post that. Then I can go back, and when you posted that, it tells me what time you posted that. Then I can go back to TradingView. I can look at the 45-minute alert and see if your alert actually went off, right?
Yes,
because all you're doing is you're just posting the basics, right? So let's say like you would put BTC long alert 45-minute trigger entry 103,856. Right, what was our entry on that one? That one was 103,857. So 103,857. So 103,857. And then you would post that. Then what I can do is I can go back, look and see if the alert actually went off. And then I can check to see if the entry that you're waiting for is actually correct. Verify it all. And then, critique a video for you. And then we can see how that trade went. And then when the trade hits, you just go back to your comment, hit reply, and you're going to say entry triggered in live trade and 50x leverage, 25% stop loss, and then you can type in your stop loss and put it in there at 103,560, right? And then I can check your numbers.
Okay.
And then after that trade's done, you can post the how the trade worked. Closed out 60% gains, closed out 40% gains, and that's it. Simple.
So I'm gonna from that point, coach. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wherever I start at is like if I start at 1383, 60. I'm gonna set that in and let everybody know, hey you guys, I'm starting at 1383.60, and I'm gonna be I'm gonna show them my stop loss as well. Then I'm gonna show them the aftermath of the trade, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
The most important thing is when you go in, when the alert goes off and you go in there and you do all your things that you post in the Discord so that I can see the time, and then I can go look at my chart and see that you're correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna post the time, right?
No, you don't have to. The Discord tracks it for you. What I'm saying is like this: don't go do a trade and then 3 hours later post that you're doing a trade, because then when I go look, I'm looking 3 hours. I'm looking when you posted, but it's not the same time. So once the alert triggers and you made a decision on the trade, post at that time so that I can have a pretty good idea of what time that your alert went off, and to make sure that it's all correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna set up on the alert. Let it go in. Hey, my alert popped off. This is what I'm doing, guys.
Right. So like how I have here. See how I posted first? Bitcoin long alert, 45-minute trigger, entry. Right. So after I did just like I did the walkthrough, I did a channel. My entry was 103.57. So just like we just did. So when the 45-minute alert off, I went and put a channel. The entry point would have been 103.857, right? Even though it's like literally 5 hours later. Doesn't matter. It's because you're posting when the alert went off, it was at 8 o'clock. So you posted the trigger alert went off. After putting the channel, my entry point is 103.857. And that's it. Then I can go back, check your channel to make sure that it's correct, and check your entry target is correct, or tell you to adjust your entry and make it a little bit lower.
Okay.
And then,
gotcha.
Yeah, and whatever happens, you just keep it updated. So even though the alert went off and the current price of Bitcoin was 104,362, our entry was 103,857 because that's the top of the channel. Originally, it would have been 104,168. But then the 15-minute sell alert went off, which forced us to move our entry down even lower to 103,880. Remember how the 15-minute sell went off?
That's right.
So you would just document, just received a 15-minute sell alert, moving my entry down to the next level of 103,880. And then when it triggered, you would then come back and be like, entry of 103,880 just triggered on the Bitcoin long. Now I'm entered. Boom. And then when the trade hits its number, close Bitcoin long for 35, 40, 50, 60, 100% gains. Boom, successful trade. Or if it hits the stop loss, right? Stop loss at 103,380. If it hits the stop loss, you say stop loss was triggered at 1,380, unsuccessful trade. Boom.
Okay. Whether successful or unsuccessful, I'm gonna
Yes,
still put it
yes,
in
yes.
the
Yeah.
okay.
Because it's not about what it's about is about winning 6 out of 10. And the only way to learn from your trades is to learn from your losses. Winning is
That's
easy.
correct.
Nothing to learn on a win.
Right.
Well, that's why, a lot of people, they take the academy courses, they get mad at me because I yell at them if they don't post their losses. Because I don't care about wins. I care about losses.
You gotta care about every.
Yeah.
It's
I don't.
all based.
Nobody wants
it's
to
all
see. Yeah.
formula.
Nobody wins every trade. It depends on how. I mean, eventually you'll get to the point where you'll understand how to win. 9 out of 10 trades easily. But right now, you're learning how to, find entry points, be greedy on entries, and then learn how to just take profits. It's a very simple, you're learning how to do a job, right? And once you learn how to do the job, then you'll be better at the job. First, you got to learn the art and the craft of it. Then once you do that, then you can, sharpen your tools and buy yourself better equipment. But first, you got to learn how to do it.
Right. The tools and the equipment will help with the trades.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, so you see now, I'm doing 10-minute trades. I'm gonna win 9 out of 10 of my trades. Probably 10 out of 10. Out of 100 trades, I'm probably gonna win 90 because I'm working on a very smaller time frame. But I'm also I take 30% profits every time. I don't care if it keeps going because my job isn't to win 100 or 200% trades. My job is to win 10 successful trades at 30%. If I'm doing $1,000, that's $300 times 10. That's 3,000. If I want more money, then I'll simply trade 2,000 and I'll make $6,000. If I want to make 9,000 a week, then I'll trade 3,000. But
Keep it at the 30%.
Yeah,
correct.
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, because that I can count on, right? You want something that is, consistent. You don't want to be the guy who hopes that all of a sudden you caught Bitcoin at the bottom and it ran for 3 days. I mean, that's just stupid. It doesn't happen. Grand slams are great, but base hits are what win the game.
Right. We're gonna flip over to BitNext.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. So for your BitNext, I mean, it's just setting up your buys and your sell zones, right? So when you go to BitNext, you just go up to your futures, and once you're in your futures trading, right? All you're going to do here is just make sure that you're set up to where your leverage is correct. So it's a cross. You're going to use 50, maybe like 54 leverage. And that's your long position, and your short positions would be like 75. But you confirm that, and if you're only trading Bitcoin, then you're all set up. So once you have that set up, you move over and you put your currency over there. So you're going to be starting off with like $50. Put $50 over there. If you lose a trade, which is 25%, then just move a little bit more money over there so that it's equals to $50 again. And then when you make your trade, you're just going to, it's set on market and limit. Well, when you pick your entry, you're going to go to limit, and let's say our entry was the 103,880. You just type that in. You're going to put 100% of the $50, and then you're going to hit open. You can even put your stop loss. So you can hit that little box, and you can do return on investment, right? ROI. And what that means is that you're going to say that I'm going to take profits on my ROI if it hits 60%, and my stop loss is 25% loss. and then you're going to open a long.
Okay, BTC is sitting at 106 right now, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to put $50 over there so I can kind of show you what your trade would be. So your trade would be 103,880, right? Just kind of like the example that we just went through of what your 45 minutes. See how it says 103,888? So what we would have done was we would have came over here, put 103,888, 100% of our $50. I'm going to put 99. Click this little stop loss box. ROI, make sure you change that to percentages. We want 60% gains. We want 25% stop loss. And then we would open a long position. And you can see here that our open price is 103,888. Our last price is 106. The market price is it, but that doesn't really matter. And you can see that my margin is this. I'm looking for, these are my things. I confirm it. And then that goes into my open orders. And you can see here that I have an open order that says if Bitcoin hits 103,888, it opens. And then my stop loss is set for 60% take profit. See how it's green? And then
60% take profit. Okay. Yeah, I got it.
And my stop loss is already set at 25%. So you can see if I win.
Say it again. Stop it. What is it?
25.
25%. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, that's exactly what we're doing. So if you're doing by return on investment, you can move that over, and I can change my trigger. I can say that I want to take 60% profits, right? And I want my stop loss to be 25%, and then I confirm. That's it. Same.
So when you raise your profit, you on the stop loss, coach.
Mm-hmm.
Will it if you raise a profit on take profit on a stop loss, should you decrease it or increase it?
Decrease it. So you can see here, okay, so for instance here, my take profit is 60, right? Down below it tells me that would be $29.55 on my $50 investment. If my stop loss is triggered, 25% loss would mean I lose $12. Now let's say that the trade is going well, you're up 50%, and you say, you know what, I'm going to say that I want to take 120% profit, and then my stop loss, I'm going to move it to 0. So now that means that as soon as the trade gets back down to where you have 0 profit, the stop loss would trigger and close the trade.
Okay.
Now, what you can do here is you could do this, right? So you can come here, and let's say that, okay, so you see how I have a 25% stop loss, right?
Right.
And then that's telling me that, I lose $11, okay? What you can do here is that if let's say that once you're in profit and you're up, X amount, go over to the percentage, right? So let's say that I'm up 60% on my trade, and I want it to close at 30% profit. All I would do is get rid of the negative sign on the stop loss, right? And type in 30%, go to the negative sign, and then I'd confirm that, right? And what would happen is my stop loss would actually move into a profit position. You see here, where my stop loss is? So once you can move it physically here, right? So let's say that see how where my limit buy is? That's actually where the price got in. So my original stop loss is down here. My take profit is here, right? So that trade actually would have hit. This would have been a 60% gain, okay? Now let's say that it's a live trade and I want to move my stop loss. All you do is slide this here, and you can basically, once you slide it and go back to your stop loss edit, it'll tell you that you are now in profit on your stop loss. So you can move your stop loss to, let's say, 30% of the trade. So let's say right now we're up 60%. I move my stop loss up to the 30% side. Now what that means is, even though it's a stop loss, it's going to stop loss at 30% profit versus the negative it originally started. So here's an example, right? So currently, let me just do a quick short here. So here's a short. I'm going to open 100%. I'm going to open a short. Okay. Okay. So now I'm in a trade, right? So now I go to. I'm going to cancel this because that's the example trade. So now I go over here, and now you can see that I'm a 74%, stop loss. Let me go ahead and put my stop loss in here. So I'm going to set my stop loss, and I'm going to put it at 25% because originally when you do a trade, you can already preset it. This one I didn't preset it, so I'm just going to do it here, and I'm going to set myself up for 100%, 150% profit, right? So now you can see these lines here are already set up here. Now let's say that I want to say, 150% profit, that's way down here. It doesn't seem like it's going to hit that because there's support. Then I move it up and say, it looks like I'm probably going to get, this looks like a good area to take profit, right? Looks like it's already hit there a few times. And then once I moved it, I can go back into my edit here, and I can see that now I'm at 115% profit, you see? My stop loss is at 24%, see? Now, once this becomes a trade where it becomes a profitable trade, I can move my stop loss down and start getting into the profits. So, see what I'm saying? So let's say that this trade ends up dropping real quick. Instead of it being a stop loss negative, I can put a stop loss in a positive zone. So okay, for instance, okay, so just to give you an idea. So let's say if my take profit originally was at this mark here, right? That means if I looked at my profit, that means that I would be sitting at a 25% profit. You see that? Take profit?
4.51%.
Yeah. So let's say that it starts falling and running, and I say, oh, I want more than 30%. So because let's say 30% is right here. And it starts to get close to it, and I say, you know what, I'm going to move this to 60%. All I have to do is that as it continues to go down, if I move my stop loss down to where the 30% profit was, that is the new stop loss.
Oh, okay.
So that means if it goes the other direction and it becomes to where it hits 30% profits on its way back against my trade, it will automatically close wherever that stop loss line is.
Right.
Okay?
And so I'll be able to go ahead and initially take profit on that when it hits, even if it hits above, like.
Even if it goes the other way.
My apologies, say again?
Yeah, even if it goes the other way.
Right. I don't have to, I was have to take out the negative, though, correct?
Well,
the negative side.
Well, that's what you just did. You moved your stop loss into into a positive zone.
Right, and then it will still give me a profit.
It'll close wherever you put it.
Okay. Cool. Gotcha. That's a serious key right there, Coach.
Yeah, because your ideal is this: you set up the take profit at 60%, right? Once the trade,
I only need 30%.
Right. Once the trade breaks 30 and it gets to like 45, 50%, you can then move your stop loss to the 30% mark. So that way the stop loss is set at a 30% gain. And then you can move your original 60% profits over to 75%. And then, as it starts to move, you can then start moving each of them 5% each until the trade does one or the other. It either jumps to where it's all the way to the top, or it goes the other direction and it eventually hits your stop loss, which could be at 30, 35%, 40, all depending on how you moved it, to where you're kind of like a trailing stop loss where you're moving it as it continues to gain. You're moving your stop loss up.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Stop loss.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
yeah. So that ideal is normally to once it starts moving in the right direction heavily, you move your take profit to 100% because that's you're looking for 30, you did 100. That's 3 times better than you wanted. and then you just keep moving your stop loss, keeping it 10% behind where it is. So once it gets to 40, you're at 30. It gets to 50, you're at 40. It gets to 60, you're at 50. It gets to 70, you're at 60% stop loss. It gets to 80, you're at 70. It gets to 90, you're at 80. And now it's either going to do this. It's either going to go from 90% to 80 and stop out, or it's going to go from 90 to 100 and trigger the win.
More better, more better, more better, more better.
Right, but either way, you closed out above your goal of 30%, or your high goal of 100%, and that's a winning trade, and you want to do that 10 times.
Only at 10 times. 10 times a week.
But like I said, go back, watch this video. First step is learning how to, figure out your entry positions for your 45-minute, the channel top and bottom, where you should put your entry, and then setting the alarms on the 15-minute cells so that if that goes off, then you need to reposition your entry lower for the further pullback and then give you a better entry position. Okay?
Yes.
All right, man. So we'll close that out here. Like I said, this will be inside the Discord for you. Go back and watch this video. I'll post in the next 5 minutes. Rewatch it. Set yourself up. Do the alerts. And get yourself all squared away. And I'll touch base.
Yes,
We'll go through this again tomorrow. We'll do another lesson.
All right. Thank you, Coach. I greatly appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good night, brother.